outrageous action and sexy storylines.
Stacy Blitz trying to keep her top on.
But this unique sport, now known as roller jam, is nothing new. Coming up on the E-Original Special, the unbelievable story of roller derby, its rise to the top, its sudden death, and its recent rebirth.
That guy can fly!
Basically, I will stop at nothing to win a game.
I go by the motto, you know, shut up and win at all costs.
Just about everybody's going down except Loden and Brown. Oh, wow.
When they start cheating on me, it's when I start cheating on them. I get serious then.
Here comes Shea Brown, and look out! They're in a fight now. Shea Brown and Denise Loden.
After more than 25 years out of the spotlight, the roller derby is back on the track.
Oh, leapfrogs one and goes under the other.
The hard-charging, fast-action spectacle, renamed Roller Jam, is attracting a new generation of both skaters and viewers.
When I tell people that I do roller jam and I'm a professional inline skater for the show, they go, "Oh, like the old roller derby?" And I say, "Yeah, you know, remember, except it's on inline skates now." They're like, "Oh, that's cool. Do you really hit people? Do you get hurt?" I'm like, "Yeah, look, I got lots of bruises."
Roller jam is a sport where two teams get on the track, put everything else aside, and just go at it for an hour. Beat each other up, get knocked down, beat up. In fights about personal vendettas.
Nobody's gonna tell me that I can't skate. Doctors aren't gonna tell me that I can't skate. Amanda's not gonna tell me that I can't skate. This game is too big for the hot dice.
It is a combination of everything in X Games and extreme sports right now, and a little bit of WWF. There's hair pulling, scratching, clawing, you know, fist fights, cat fights. That's the best part about it.
Despite the violent brawls, breakneck speed, and outrageous storylines, Roller Jam does have rules. Two teams consisting of jammers and blockers compete against each other to score points. When the starting bell rings, the jammers attempt to circle the track as many times as possible, while the blockers try to stop them.
Jammers have 60 seconds to get around the track. For each person of the opposing team that they pass, they get a point. The object is to score points. The team with the most points at the end of the game wins.
I'm a jammer. My whole job is to score the points. The other guys, the blockers, their object is to keep me from scoring the points. So that's where we get the bangs and the elbows and the kicks and the body slams and everything else.
Oh, nice move!
If the rules seem a little confusing, you're not alone. The players aren't quite sure of them either.
I wasn't aware there were any rules in roller jam.
We cheat at any chance we get.
There was a lead pipe laying on the track, and I used the lead pipe, and yeah, I got a penalty for that, which I thought was really unfair.
Here's the only rule: watch your ass. That's the only rule that I play by.
Although the teams are co-ed, men and women don't compete directly against each other. But according to Keith Coppage, author of Roller Derby to Roller Jam, the sport is an equal opportunity injurer.
They can reach speeds between 30 and 40 miles an hour on the track. It's extremely dangerous. If you get hit and sent over the rail, you know, say whatever you want about the attraction of roller derby, that is tough.
In roller jam, if you go out there with the attitude that I'm going to get hurt, then you are going to get hurt. You have to step on the track with a totally no fear attitude and just get business done.
I used to play football. The roller jam is way more damaging to the body than football ever will be and ever has been.
Whoa! Weber just took him out of the play.
You fall on the floor, you fall on a cement floor, it's tough, you're going to get hurt. You know, it's a dangerous game.
I've separated my chest, I pulled 3 ligaments off my spinal column, I've cracked all of my ribs, dislocated both shoulders. I broke both my arms at one time. I've broken my legs. I had my knees operated on where I tore the ligaments. The list can go on and on.
Despite the serious risks involved, or perhaps because of them, roller jam players all share an intense devotion to the game.
I grew up watching roller derby, and it was really, you know, when kids are growing up, they have dreams and aspirations, and mine was to be a roller derby skater. I'm not sure what that says about me, but that's what it was.
I'm a person based on instincts and like intuitions and stuff, and the moment I saw it, I was like, cool. Right on. Get paid to skate and hit people. What else could you ask for?
I tell everyone when they ask me, okay, what is it that draws you? I said, well, where else in a professional environment can you slug your coworker? And it's okay. There's no recourse.
Look at these two go at it. Blitz pounding the back of France's head.
Roller derby is referred to as sports entertainment, a form of competition that falls somewhere between Melrose Place and a monster truck rally. Just how much of the game is sports and how much is entertainment is debatable.
There is an element of entertainment to the show. The competition is totally legit, and there's an element of entertainment as well.
Oh, man!
I always compare it to, like when Michael Jordan used to play basketball. I mean, sure, he could just run down, dunk it in, but he always put a little extra on it, and that's what you expect. And whenever you come to Roller Jam, you're going to expect that little extra, and we're always going to give it to you.
While the moves may be somewhat exaggerated, so are the rivalries between players.
And she does.
The metamorphosis that I go into when I step on the track, that I become big nasty. And no matter who I go up against, I'm going up against, to beat them. And I really don't care if I win or lose, honestly. I just want to just pound them into the ground.
I like to classify everybody as like having two personalities. You have your personality on the track and off the track. And so if you do something to me on the track and I'm mad, I'm gonna go after you. But then afterwards, I'm gonna be like, hey, what are you doing? Wanna go drink a beer?
Off the track, I'm a pretty friendly girl. I'm pretty easy to get along with. I like people in general. But once I get on the track, there's a whole nother side of me that sometimes I didn't even know that I had. And I will do anything to win.
Although some elements of Roller Jam are embellished, viewers don't seem to mind. Games currently air twice a week on the TNN cable network, and ratings have been steadily climbing since its debut in January 1999. Psychiatrist Robert Butterworth believes viewers are tuning into the show because of its unpredictability.
A lot of people are bored with TV because most of it that they watch, they know what's going to happen. And I think there's an element of unpredictability in the roller derby. So in a sense, what we're really kind of becoming are folks that really want to see real life happening and in a sense peeking in. So in a psychological sense, I think we're becoming a little bit voyeuristic.
Coming up, E gets more voyeuristic as we take an exclusive look backstage at the Roller Jam.
These are really good to hit people in the head with.
Plus, the women of Roller Jam reveal all.
I had a dream like this once.
But first, a look back at more than 60 years of skating, roller derby style.
In those days, too, I never even wore any padding or anything, and I always rolled my sleeves up and pulled my zipper down because that was just me.
Welcome back to the E Original Special Inside Roller Jam.
There's the double block set up, and she goes right through it. And then
Roller Jam premiered on TV in 1999. But the over-the-top slugfest on skates actually began almost 70 years earlier in a somewhat different format.
In 1935, my father, Leo Seltzer, had the idea of putting a marathon on roller skates. The skaters skated on a bank track, 18 laps of the mile. People would come to watch this new attraction. It was the height of the Depression, so they could get in for 10 cents and spend the time there.
Leo Seltzer soon decided to take his skating marathons on the road. He assumed other cities would be just as receptive as his native Chicago. But according to Keith Coppage, author of Roller Derby to Roller Jam, Leo hadn't yet found the secrets of success.
It was a very slow build from city to city. Sometimes they go in and would just bomb. They scheduled themselves for weeks at a time. If a race didn't work, they would shorten their stay.
Without consistent audiences, the future of these roller skating spectacles was in jeopardy. But Seltzer soon noticed that during the competitions, spectators would cheer anytime one player accidentally slammed into another. When a reporter covering the skating marathon suggested physical contact be legalized, the roller derby was born.
That was the moment that roller derby became the sort of rock'em sock'em thing. From 1938 on was when it became contact skating.
As the roller derby became more popular, the skaters began traveling from city to city, attracting crowds wherever they competed. But a tragic event would almost end the sport for good.
Sometime in 1938, there was a terrible bus crash which practically wiped out the whole troop of skaters. They lost about 22 lives. It practically ended the game, and there was quite a lot of discussion, should the game go on? And the skaters said, we need to see this through. And we'll remember the skaters another way. To this very day, and all throughout the history of roller derby, the number 1 is never used. It's to memorialize all the skaters that lost their lives in that crash. So you'll never see a number 1 on a roller derby skater.
The roller derby soon regrouped and began touring again. But it would be another 10 years before the sport would receive national recognition, thanks to a new invention called television.
The first night, they did a live broadcast from New York, and there were maybe 500 people. Within a day or two, you could not get a ticket to it. It was a story of the power of television.
From the 9th Regiment Armory on 14th Street in New York City, the Metropolitan Broadcasting Corporation presents Roller Derby. Hello there, fans. This is Eric Page, along with Ken Nidell, welcoming you to another action-packed hour of Roller Derby.
It became such an overnight smash that all the networks at the time were bidding for the rights. The rights eventually went to ABC. In writing the book, I found a week that there was about 15 hours of roller derby programming, prime time. They were so dependent on it, and it was the biggest show on ABC.
And there's the gun starting the second half of play.
The teams continued to travel around the country, competing in both large cities and small towns. But while the crowds grew bigger and more enthusiastic, life on the road was never easy for the players.
The skaters were very superstitious about traveling by bus, so actually they traveled by their own cars, and we'd give them a road map and where they're supposed to be, and they'd go from Youngstown to Pittsburgh, to Scranton to New York. And they called it kind of the endless tour.
We traveled all year long. On the holidays, we skated double headers, and Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving, we'd have one in the afternoon, then you'd a big Thanksgiving meal and try to skate the game at night and stuff. But you know, it's just what you get used to, and you have to do it.
In the mid-50s, television began to come into its own. But as Hollywood started to produce more sophisticated programming, there was little room for roller derby. Without TV exposure, the derby was in trouble.
Overnight, the bottom just fell out. They were dependent on television to get the people in to buy the tickets to go to the games. That fed the salaries. There were some very, very lean years in the 1950s. Eventually, the game moved to San Francisco and Los Angeles, where it sort of eked out a modest existence for several years.
Although the competitions continued, roller derby attracted little attention. But in 1958, a local TV station in San Francisco began broadcasting the games. Once again, television would be roller derby's savior.
It was an immediate hit on this particular station. Live games began to be skated more regularly. It became the #1 show in a lot of rating situations. It beat out Bonanza and several other staples of 60s television. They eventually began to sell the series on film and videotape to stations around the country, at one point being on about 120 stations in virtually every market.
An uproar here in the Oakland Coliseum Arena in this championship game right now.
The roller derby was back and bigger than ever. During the 1960s, skaters such as Ann Calvello, Charlie O'Connell, and Joni Weston became celebrities. Wherever the derby traveled, die-hard fans packed stadiums.
O'Connell, here he comes now. O'Connell moving on Monty. Monty breaks away, but he's hit by O'Connell. But he keeps Butler from scoring. A man on the rail is passed to a point by Butler.
One of my favorite things or whatever is when we skated the first Madison Square Gardens. There's just something about the Gardens. It was the best crowd they ever had, over 19,000.
3 points give the Bombers the lead.
Rolling Stone photographer Baron Woolman became a fan of the derby in the 60s and would eventually become the game's principal photographer.
I was taught that you don't hit women, but here I go into this place. Not only can you hit women, they're getting paid to hit each other, these women. And I can't explain to this day what it is about it, but it seemed there was something in my system that responded to that.
Throughout the 60s and early 70s, roller derby enjoyed its greatest success. In each city the derby visited, thousands of fans would fill sports arenas.
The success was really outstanding, and we had, in September of 1972, we sold out White Sox Park in Chicago with a little over 50,000 people.
The roller derby seemed unstoppable. Attendance was high and profits were up. Few would have guessed that within a year, roller derby would shut down for good. Welcome back to the E Original Special, Inside Roller Jam.
From the 9th Regiment Armory on
The roller derby, precursor to today's roller jam, hit its peak in the late 60s and early 70s, playing to sellout crowds around the country. But despite its success, the demise of the Derby was just around the corner.
People didn't realize that the Roller Derby League was basically a small family enterprise, which I owned and operated all the teams and did all the scheduling. And we hit really a series of very bad events in 1972.
A problem developed in that the skaters went on all these one-nighters, usually by car. And there was a gas shortage at the time, which really cut into an awful lot of the profits.
Gas stations had long lines. Arenas closed down in the winter because they couldn't heat the buildings. People were hesitant to travel.
With basically one family, the Seltzer family, owning all the teams, being responsible for all their needs and all the accommodations and insurance and everything else, it began to be too much. There were some losses. And rather than see the game go down to a reduced state, it was decided that they would look for a way out.
In December of 1973, I shut down roller derby, and that was really the end of the game as it existed.
Throughout the 70s and 80s, rival skating leagues achieved moderate success copying roller derby's formula, but it would be decades before the derby itself would make a comeback. In 1997, 24 years after the last game was played, the death of roller derby's most famous skater, Joni Weston, brought renewed attention to the sport.
She was roller derby in the minds of many, many people. Her obituary made newspapers all across the country.
She was a great athlete in skill and power, towered above anybody else in the game.
She was tall, she had blonde hair, and she looked like she was in charge, and all the other skaters listened to her. She was a great skater, a really nice woman, tough, and a leader. She had a huge following.
Joni's obituary in the New York Times was read by Stephen Land, a producer who felt that maybe roller derby in a 90s or a 21st century kind of spin would work, and they came up with this concept called roller jam.
Jerry and Stephen took their idea to the TNN cable network, and within months, Roller Jam was picked up. While the new show follows the basic rules of roller derby, Roller Jam adds new teams, faster inline skates, and over-the-top storylines.
These guys aren't worried about the game, Rory. They're worried about payback to Mark DeMono.
There's more action off the track, and there is all, and they put him in the cage.
It is very cool to watch Roller Jam. It was not cool to watch roller derby. Everybody watched it, few people would fess up to it. But Roller Jam is something very different.
In its almost 70 years of existence, the roller derby has undergone many changes, but one family of skaters has played a major role in keeping the derby on track: the Atkinsons. 3 generations of these supreme skaters have competed in the game.
Buddy Atkinson Sr. started with the game around 1937, not long after it had evolved into kind of the game that we know now. His wife, Bobby Johnstone Atkinson, was a wonderful skater. She was the first blonde bombshell in roller derby. And their son, Buddy Jr., ended up skating in roller derby mostly for the New York Chiefs. His wife, Drew Scott, was a fine skater with the team. Their son, Sean, skates now for the California Quakes. He is the superstar. Everybody loves Sean. So the clan started then, and it's with us now.
Buddy Atkinson Sr. and his wife, Bobby, raised their children on the road with the derby.
On the road, it was a little on the rough side, but the roller derby always furnished us babysitters, which made it a lot easier.
I was raised on the road. We traveled by bus, we traveled by train, very little airplane back then, and cars. All through the 40s, in about 1957, I wanted to skate. My mother and father were still involved with roller derby. I started training, then I went and skated pro in '58. I met Drusilla in 1958. She was skating on a team opposing ours. We got together because she got fired. My dad hired her, she became my partner, and she's been my partner ever since.
Buddy Jr. and Drew raised 2 of their children on the road as well.
My mom skated 7 months pregnant, and they used to have to let out the uniform. Only the uniform person knew about what was going on, so that was kind of weird. Everybody hears the story, says that's what's wrong with me. I've been like banged around too much.
I had a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old on the road, and we were doing one-nighters all over the country, went from one end to the other end, the whole United States.
I grew up on a bus going from town to town, going to every pavilion watching roller derby. I didn't just watch it on TV, I actually was at every event.
People would probably want to know, well, what did you do for babysitting when you skated? Well, what I did is I took a dresser drawer for the baby out of the motel room, made a bed in it, carried it down the arena, and put it in the dressing room. And while I skated, he came in the dressing room and watched the kids. And while he skated, I came back in the dressing room and watched the kids.
And that's the same thing that happened in my era. My mother and father did the exact same thing.
My wife died, and 3 years ago. We were about 54 years we were married, and that's what I miss the most, is seeing my wife being here with me.
My grandmother, God rest her soul, I think she would be proud of the way the games progressed. She was one of the first to unzip her top. She wore her top a little low. She drove motorcycles when she shouldn't have drove motorcycles. She was a little crazy in her own way. There's a lot to live up to, third generation skater.
I'm so happy because my mother and my father were both Hall of Fame, and I'm really touched. And I'd like to share this moment with my son.
Our children had a lot of people around them that loved them and took care of them and nurtured them, taught them lessons. The things that our children learn from skating is way beyond what most children are given the opportunity to be around. And I think it was fantastic.
Coming up, more on Joni Weston and the daredevil women of the Derby.
That hammer punch, boy, it hurt.
Welcome back to the E-Original Special, Inside Roller Jam.
Robles and Gambles set up a double block. Oh, that guy can fly!
I have one move, it's called the rail, when I jump up on the rail and try to smash my back into the opponent coming into me.
Oh, and lead him right into that shot by McDaniel.
For the skaters of Roller Jam, creating a signature move is the key to successful slamming.
The screamer is basically a head-on collision where I just throw my legs out to the oncoming opponent, and the eliminator is I actually lay down on the track and flip them over with my feet.
Oh, I hope he's motivated enough to stand up after that one.
Roller bones, I stop in the middle of the track and I flip them over my body and they hit the floor. Windmill, I spin them around and I slam them.
Oh, Weber just took him out of the play.
I have the whiplash where I grab him up around the neck and flip him. Then your basic just punch in the face I have too, which works pretty well.
But with fists flying and bodies colliding, some experts believe players should think about more than just entertaining the audience.
By taking it to the extreme, they're thinking about kind of the glory now, and a lot of times not really thinking about the hurts or the consequences that'll happen later.
And the Ack attack just leveled Sam Martin. Oh, I don't know if Sam's going to be getting up.
Pop culture analyst Anthony Mora, author of The Alchemy of Success, says fame can be a deadly lure.
It's a real danger, but to them it's worth the risk. It's they're going for the top of of this particular field.
I think he just knocked him cold. He's unconscious.
They want the adulation, they want the money, so it's worth the risk for them.
The last taping here had a girl get a couple teeth shoved up in her gums. Another girl got like 3 vertebrae in her neck crushed.
I've had a lot of injuries. I've had head injuries, I've had shoulder injuries, but I don't know, I'm like a Timex. I keep licking it, keep on ticking.
I had the shoulder separated, I've had this one separated, sprained ankles, nothing major.
Oh, what a collision!
I've had 10 stitches in my face. I sprained ACL, which is the anterior cruciate ligament of your knee, very, very important. Bruises, bumps, contusions, a slight concussion, and latest and greatest is my nice road rash in unmentionable places.
The risk of injury elicits mixed reactions from players' parents.
She's down on the tracks.
My mom, she thinks it's way too violent for me. Typical mom. You have such a pretty face, blah, 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 it's too rough for you.
My dad gets a little concerned, but he's always been like that because I'm his little pumpkin. All my kinfolk in Mississippi, oh, they're just loving it. They call me, we watch you every Tuesday and Friday night, and they'll call me after a game and say, are you okay?
My mom watches every week religiously. She's very proud of me.
My family doesn't even miss a show. They come down here every taping. I mean, I don't even have to ask or anything. They're here. They make business cards for me, stationery. My dad's like #1 fan.
But what these devoted fans don't know is that life on the Roller Jam rink can be even more dangerous than it looks.
Welcome to the wonderful world of roller jam. This is the ramp we all skate up, and there's like pyro flying up. We have to be careful that our hair doesn't catch on fire because of the hairspray.
Oh, here's somebody we haven't seen yet tonight.
So we come up here, and personally I like to do the little wee, woohoo, star thing.
Women's Demolition Derby coming up next, Jamie Colomac.
This is our lovely track where all the bumps and bruises and scrapes and scratches happen. For all you people that think you could put your skates on and show me up, I'd like to give you some food for thought here. The track is made out of a plastic laminate. Underneath it, there's wood framing and, of course, more aluminum. But when you hit this, it might give a little bit, but, I mean, it still hurts really bad when you land on it. This right here is called a rail, and this is your upright, and this is called a kick rail. It really doesn't matter how much padding, because if you're going at the right speed and this gets knocked into you, you can get jarred up pretty good.
And set her up for Shea Brown.
These are the team benches, a home team or an away team on either side. Not to mention, these are really good to hit people in the head with, too.
And Lawton sends a Weintraub into the bench.
We do have the medical staff, which is here waiting and ready in case if there are any injuries. So you do come here. I like to use this table to sleep on when I'm tired, but don't tell anybody. This is a really, 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 really big truck where all the wires and everything come together and put the show together. You know, like camera one, camera two, camera one, camera two. So we're gonna take you inside the truck. I'm excited, I've never been here before. This is inside the truck and has that new truck smell. Carpet and everything, this is nice. These are all the monitors and all the computers and knobs and just, I guess the best word for it is just stuff. Well, this is the director's chair. I feel so special. And this is where he sits there and orders people and says, take one, take two, get rid of that, get rid of him. Where's Jamie Colomac? Let's put her on the screen. I could get used to this.
Still to come, roller derby's most notorious women tell all.
I always hung around with guys because the girls couldn't skate fast enough and I beat up all the guys.
Welcome back to the E! Original Special Inside Roller Jam. For the women of Roller Jam, slaps in the face and slips on the track are all part of the game.
Whenever we go out there, I mean, we just go out there scratching, fighting, kicking, clawing, anything that we have to do.
Oh, man!
But despite the bumps and bruises, these hard-charging chicks still look sexy on skates.
Our girls basically are allowed to like wear practically nothing, but they're great athletes. I mean, yes, we do show a lot of TNA, they say, but they also got to be able to perform.
While today's competitors may show a little more leg, the women of roller derby have always captivated audiences with their unladylike behavior on the track.
At the time that roller derby started, and this was almost immediately an innate criticism, was how can you let women compete on the same basis as men?
Since roller derby began in 1935, women have competed in the game as equals to men. From its earliest years, crowds flocked to see these sexy skaters. But it would be decades before women were accepted as competitors in a professional sport, let alone one as violent as roller derby.
Back in the 30s and 40s, women weren't supposed to act like this.
It was considered unladylike, ungracious.
Jerry Seltzer, son of roller derby creator Leo Seltzer, believes that female competitors have always been just as talented as their male counterparts.
Many years, my father resented the fact that nobody would take the game seriously because of the fact that women were competing within it. And of course, afterwards that became a huge advantage because people would say, you know, they want to come to see the women knock each other around.
To see women cutting loose and yelling and screaming and fighting was an attraction in and of itself. They used to say that the women brought them in and the men played the game, you know, and in some respects that was true.
While women have always competed in roller derby, it wasn't until the early 60s that the sport had its first female star. Joni Weston, a gifted athlete with long strawberry blonde hair, began competing at age 18. She gained national recognition for her sex appeal and athleticism.
Joni eventually became roller derby personified for a lot of people. People didn't maybe know the ins and outs of the game, but she became probably the best known female athlete.
At 5'10", Joni towered over her rivals. Known for her quick feet and hard punches, the blonde bomber took the game by storm.
Joni Weston is the top-of-the-line female skater of all time. She's a legend.
She was a powerhouse blocker, but she could jam. She could do almost everything a guy could do on the track, and that transcended to the girls' field.
I skated with her. I coached her. I had my grievances with her, but she was good for the roller derby, very good.
The derby not only gave Weston an athletic outlet, but also brought her true love with fellow skater Nick Skopas.
Joni and I went together for about 15 years before we actually got married. Got married around in 1982. We were pretty happy together. I was into hot rods, she was into dogs. She was a very, very talented person, a very strong skater. Skated against men and held her own pretty well, unless it was a bigger guy. And I mean, even I couldn't hold my own against a bigger guy.
After the derby ended in the early 70s, Joni opened a training school for skaters. She hoped to attract a new generation to the sport she loved.
Joni herself gave an awful lot of time and effort to get the game going in. She would do countless interviews and so forth to try and see if there could be some interest out there.
Although Joni died in May of 1996, her legacy lives on in the skaters of today.
I think Joni Weston is alive in every single one of the female skaters out there. I think that this was her dream, and I feel that, you know, she's with us and she's blessed us with this sport coming back.
While Weston was by far the most beloved skater of all time, her arch rival Ann Calvello inspired a different emotion.
Ann Calvello, as a skater, was very unique to us because Ann always wanted people to hate her.
I would never try to hurt anybody intentionally or anything, but I just wanted to win, and if I didn't, well, most of the time I did, because I'm such a competitor even to this day.
And there we have Ann Calvello moving out, the fiery Ann from San Francisco.
Ann started skating in 1948 and quickly gained a reputation as the toughest woman on the track. She broke all the rules, getting a rise out of her fellow skaters and her fans.
Ann is just the prototypical villainess in a role that she created.
Oh, there's bad blood here.
Calvello's bad girl attitude was often overshadowed by her bizarre sense of style.
For St. Patrick's Day one year, she dyed her hair green.
There was too many natural blondes around with the suntan. I just did my hair green.
And this happened to be on when the Derby was in color on television, and the fans wrote in and talked to her, and they said, do it again, do it again.
I used to put car paint on my nails because you couldn't buy these nail polishes. And I used to put for the lipstick and stuff would be eye makeup on my lips, you know, because I would skate with green lipstick, blue, and all that, but it'd be stuff for your eyes. Now you can get it everywhere.
Today, at age 70, Ann continues to surprise people. This former demon of the Derby holds down 2 jobs, working in a supermarket and collecting tickets for the 49ers. And occasionally, she can still be seen circling the track.
I really haven't changed that much. You know, I have a few wrinkles, but not much for being in the sun 70 years.
Coming up, meet the die-hard fans who fill the stands.
Roller jamming out the girls, the pimps are there.
But first, Roller Jam smacks down pro wrestling.
They hit a soft mat and a mat outside the track. We're hitting a hard surface and concrete.
Welcome back to the E Original Special Inside Roller Jam. Take explosive energy and hard-hitting action.
That's the way to treat a king.
Mix in wild characters.
He's a caged animal at last.
And outrageous storylines.
I can't marry you when I have feelings for somebody else. I can't do it. I'm in love with Malibu and Stacy. I can't.
And Roller Jam sounds suspiciously similar to another popular Smash Mouth sport.
Oh, my goodness Yes, they got him again.
Roller derby and roller jam are the most similar to wrestling of any type of entertainment out there, and that they're straddle the border between being sports and being entertainment.
Here they go again. Logan came out of the penalty box and went after Shea Brown again.
Wrestling has developed real characters, and it's almost like a novelization, a serialization of character. I think you'll see roller jam really developing that.
And for those of you who did not understand what just happened, I dumped her and humiliated her on national television. Oh, there, no!
And it's extremely extreme.
And takes him.
People almost get killed.
Gunnan just let her right into the Hellcat and skates to the face. That's not very nice.
There's a lot of violence, but everybody gets up and walks away.
Despite the similarities, skaters insist roller jam packs a few more punches than wrestling.
Injury. Amanda Hertz is telling the referee.
If you look at wrestling compared to us, yeah, they hit a soft mat and a mat outside the track. We're hitting a hard surface and concrete.
I think that the audience can relate a lot more with the roller jam skaters than they can with wrestling, because when they watch us, they see an ordinary person of ordinary size that's just out there doing this phenomenal thing.
She's out here and she's all business now.
I give the wrestlers credit, but on skates, it's hard. Not everyone can do this. And people that haven't seen it watch it and they're like, wow, you guys do this stuff on skates. It's amazing, it really is. It's an art.
Look out now.
As with wrestling, art and athleticism often take a back seat to outrageous antics, like tonight's evening gown strip-off. This over-the-top relay race combines beauty and elegance with nail-scratching, hair-pulling, dress-ripping. Well, you get the idea.
This is right up your alley, Lee.
Oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
The most fun that I've had so far was that evening gown competition. The rules were 5 laps, anything goes. The girl at the end with the most clothes on wins. And so it was pretty much a free-for-all. That was just hilarious, in my opinion. I mean, I had a great time ripping the dresses off those other girls.
I had a dream like this once. When I first got this job, I thought maybe that's what will happen, and now look.
I think that the evening gown strip-off has by far been the most interesting and over-the-top thing that we've done yet in roller jam.
They're still battling each other. Stacy Blitch gets into that infield and grabs those flowers and hits Lindsey Francis over the hip foot. That must really hurt. Geez, Scott spent $8.95 on those.
Denise Loden, right now you're asking for mic time.
Yeah. I think, Danny, once and for all, that this race proved that not only are the women of the WSL strong and beautiful, but we got class, too.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of class.
But these classy gals and their male teammates are also dedicated athletes who understand the value of physical conditioning.
We come here 5 days a week. We do arms one day, we do back and tries the second day. We'll do legs the third day, and then the fourth day just go back to cardio, and then we'll restart it all over again.
Usually I start with about 45 minutes of cardio every day, which just gets me warmed up, gets the juices flowing. Depending on what I've worked out on, how hard I trained the day before, how hard I skated, it's how I feel. It's how I feel.
I have the biggest guns in the whole league, okay?
Yet for many of these hard-bodied heroes, there's more to life than skates and weights. The X-Men want to be known for more than their extreme style of skating.
He landed hard on his back, but he doesn't care. That just makes him feel better.
We want to open up the floodgates to be, an idol to more than just teens.
Let them all come in.
12-year-old girls. And, yeah.
If you're 18 and over, come to us.
Yeah. Please.
Our goal in roller jam and whatever we do, we want to be on the cover of the magazine.
Yeah, see, I've gotten this far, so far, I want to be right here instead of right there. And someday I think it's going to happen.
Florida Sundogs captain Lindsey Francis spends her days away from the roller jam fast track, enjoying a more leisurely pastime.
Good boy. There we go. I started riding actually when I was a child, but I got into training at the age of 14. Marco is a 12-year-old thoroughbred. Give me kisses. So thoroughbreds naturally are very high-strung and also very large. He's huge. I started competing also when I was about 16, And ever since then, I've just been hooked. Any free time I have, I'm always out there training. And it's something that's just very rewarding when you're working with an animal that actually you can communicate in ways that you wouldn't think possible.
But if you think riding offers Lindsay a break from Roller Jam's bone-crushing danger,
Blitz pounding the back of France's head.
well, think again.
I've had a horse land on me before where I fractured my collarbone from a horse stepping on me. So it can be very hazardous too. You have this animal that's as big as a small car, and you're guiding it to go over places that you're not necessarily meant to go.
Coming up, some of Roller Jam's most ardent fans speak out.
I like the violence and the boobs and the butts and, you know.
Welcome back to the E! Original Special, Inside Roller Jam. Since its earliest days, roller derby has attracted a diverse crowd. From young children and teenagers to longtime fanatics, these screaming spectators have always had one thing in common. They love the heart-pounding action of this extreme sport.
I love roller jam because of the roughness. Like, Mark the model punches people and elbows them and stuff.
I'm the bad guy on the show, and they like me. I don't get it, but it's working.
I love roller jam because of the hot guys.
3 words: Jason, Posse, and Mark.
I don't think we're teen heartthrobs, really. I mean, we're getting bits and pieces of it here and there. I mean, it's starting to catch on a little bit, but I don't want to commit to being that yet.
I think the reason people watch it is because it has a crash and burn element to it. It also has a campy element, a funny element, a competitive element, and I think all those combined make a show that a broad amount of people can watch and enjoy.
I like the violence and the boobs and the butts and, you know.
The main reason why we like roller jam because it's violent, it's intense, and it's pretty much like beyond anything out there now.
Whether it's the violence, sex appeal, or outrageous storylines that attract diehard fans, skaters know they can always count on the enthusiastic support of their admirers.
I love the audience. I honestly do, because they're your fans. They are what make you perform out there.
My goal is basically to entertain the audience. The wins and losses, I mean, the fans are following the game. They enjoy all that. But I think I want moms and dads to lose their voices because their kids are having such a great time and they're able to sit there and clap and scream.
When we have a big, loud audience, you get so much energy from them. That's where we get our energy. And the more crowd, the more people that start coming to our shows and see our shows, the better it's going to be.
The best part about Roller Jam is the fans, the adrenaline rush when you come off the ramp, and just to see everybody's expression.
Here comes Shea Brown onto the track for the hot guys.
For all the fans and for everyone that's been supportive of us from day one, give them credit, and that's what keeps us going. Their energy keeps us going. So I would say just thanks to all the fans that have been with us.